Hi everyone, Pat Dougherty here with your Tennis IQ topic, post-match evaluation. So what would be very helpful in this time that you have where you're not competing that often is maybe make a 10 or 12 point punch list of things that you know might be holding you back in your matches that you're trying to overcome, deal with, and improve on. And from that, that's what we want to kind of focus on after a match has been played. Once you've settled down and gotten over the emotions of losing it, possibly sitting down with yourself and saying, how did I do on the various topics I was trying to improve in my game? So again, it's a performance versus an outcome thing. We talked about it previously that, you know, there's days you play great and lose, there's days you play poorly and win. So the outcome doesn't always measure your performance. So we want to extrapolate the performance side out and just analyze that aspect of it. So some of the things generally you could think about in this evaluation is fear of losing a problem for you. And for many times, for many players, that is a big problem. As soon as you start scoring, all of a sudden their whole game, it gets a black cloud over top of it, it seems. And they have a hard time competing because they're so worried about losing this match. So realize, unless you're, well, for there to be any reward in winning, there has to be a great risk of losing, or it's not a worthy match. So you play someone you can blow out any day of the week. Winning that match isn't going to do much for your game, and it really isn't that rewarding to you. So we have to be willing to put it on the line against worthy opponents. And when you realize and you can recognize the fact that, you know what, as long as they're earning their points and I don't feel I'm giving the match away, I'm putting the best game plan I can put out there in my performance, let the outcome shake out the way it's going to. But when every possible way of losing translates in your mind to total failure, no wonder you're going to continue to have that fear of losing getting in the way. So carve yourself out at least that path that if they're hitting winners and earning forced errors out of you, then your game plan's doing about the best you can do. If you use between point rituals, which I hope you all are developing, were you able to maintain them throughout the match? Especially when you fall behind, that's when you really need them most. But a lot of times we get in panic mode and start rushing through things, and the rituals tend to go away as we rush from point to point. Were you taking the time to pre-plan at least the first few shots of the point before you started that point? Or are you going into your return side going, okay, whether it's a forehand or backhand, I know I'm going to go cross court with this or deep down the middle and look for something on the second ball I get to do this with. On the serve, based on where I choose to serve, what'll I expect back? And those kind of thoughts can really get you set up to succeed because you're reacting according to a plan instead of just reacting. If emotions tend to be a struggle for you and that gets your game plan off track, how well did you manage your emotions throughout the match today? Was it something you were able to get a handle on? And if so, give yourself credit. Because again, part of this whole exercise, guys, is to not just dwell on the negatives of losing and overlook any positives when you win. Your job is to build your own confidence. So we want to constructively look at our losses and see the specific areas we need to address and improve on, but spend equal amounts of time on your wins and give yourself credit too when you've really dug yourself out of a hole, made a nice comeback, for example. Were you playing the percentage shot patterns that you've been taught that were good for your court position? Maybe you got off track there and that cost you a lot of points, which resulted in a loss. Did you capitalize on opportunities to dictate play when you had them in front of you? Another important one. When the ball's down the center of the court and you can choose to run them corner to corner, were you taking advantage of that as an example? And not playing it just back down the middle and playing it safe. When you were forced to defend, did you play it as a defensive play on the ball, or did you force your offense and make a lot of mistakes because of that? So Part of becoming a great competitor is understanding how to decipher on the fly between offensive and defensive situations. Did you try adjusting the way you were playing in efforts to win if you lost that match? At some point, did you reevaluate and say, is there something better or different I can do to resurrect this match and come out with a victory? Did you feel like you were 100% competitive in the battle from start to finish? A lot of times when we start getting discouraged with the scoreboard, our competitiveness drops off significantly and we stop putting up a good fight. So this is something that's really important, and it can cost you big chunks of points in match play when you let that competitiveness drop off like that. Think about how'd you win most of your points. If it was winners that you feel got you the most amount, then the next thing we're going to deal with is how did you lose most of your points. And if you lost the match feeling like you hit more winners and that's how you won most of your points, it probably came at the expense of getting far outnumbered by your own unforced errors along the way. So try to get a perspective on the outcomes and evaluate that on both ends of it. Did you feel like you were legitimately outplayed today, or that you gave the match away? That's what you got to be tough on yourself with, is if you're playing in such a way that gives matches away, that's something you have control over that you can change. If you were in fact outplayed today, give due credit to the opponent. They were the better player today. Sign them up to play again soon in the future. They're probably a really good competitor to compete against and learn from. But don't feel terrible that you're a total failure just because you got outplayed by a better player. We look for those opportunities. We don't run from them. So there's some few ideas on your post-match evaluation to consider, guys, and good luck working on all of it.